Okay.
This meeting is being recorded.
So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us and welcome to the Prince George's County Food Rescue Community Volunteer Meeting. During our hour today, we're going to walk you through the ins and outs of Prince George's County Food Rescue and opportunities to support this initiative as a volunteer. For those of you who I don't know, my name is Julia Grenfelt, and I am the Prince George's County Food Rescue Site Director, and I work with my team and my colleagues with the Prince George's County Food Equity Council and our home nonprofit, the Institute for Public Health Innovation. So today I'm joined by my colleagues. So we have Yasmin Morales here, who is helping support this program, and she'll be presenting today with me some of this information. Sydney Daigle, our Food Equity Council Director, is also here with us today behind the scenes, helping with the chat and some of the polls. So she'll be responding to any questions throughout the presentation. Okay, so again, please just share your name and where in the county you're located or the region, just so we know who's here today. It looks like we have quite a few county folks joining us, so good to see everyone. So before we dive into the presentation today, we're going to get a sense of who's in the room. So Sydney is going to pull up our first poll question. So Sydney, I'll give you a chance to pull that up. So we're going to just ask, what is your experience with Prince George's County Food Rescue as a volunteer? So I see some folks are answering this. Looks like we have kind of an even breakdown of new volunteers. Some folks that have volunteered before and they're looking to further engage, and then some folks that haven't yet signed up. So that's great. We're going to share kind of the ins and outs of anything from signing up to further engaging. So we'll have some valuable information for the folks on this call today. Okay, I'm going to close this up. Thank you for participating. Okay. So we'll get started. So today's agenda, we're going to cover a little bit about the Food Equity Council and Food Rescue. We'll talk about Food Rescue US, which is our technology partner for the Food Rescue program. We'll talk about how Food Rescue works. And then we'll talk about how to engage as a volunteer, which I know is kind of why you are all here today. And then we'll be sure to have some time at the end to answer any questions and have some of a discussion. Okay. So the Prince George's County Food Equity Council, for those of you who don't know, is a local food policy council based in the county that was founded in 2013 via a group of partners with the Port Towns Community Partnership. This group of folks really saw the need for a coordinating body to help address some of the health and food systems issues in the county, and kind of came together and founded the Food Equity Council. So over the years, the Food Equity Council has worked on a number of initiatives to help residents in the county grow, sell, and choose healthy foods. So just some examples of what we've worked on. We've worked on zoning for urban agriculture. We've helped ease permitting restrictions for farmers markets, and we helped pass the county's first comprehensive healthy kids meal bill, which I know some partners on this call were involved in. So this is just to give you a sense of some of the things that we've worked on over the years. Like I mentioned earlier in the call, we are incubated within our home nonprofit, which is the Institute for Public Health Innovation, which is a 501c3 organization. Okay, so like I mentioned, we work on a number of initiatives. So food waste is just one of those initiatives. So I'm going to pass it to Yasmin to share a little bit about food waste and the issues at hand.
Hi, everyone. So over the years, the Food Equity Council has been involved in a number of initiatives, as Julia mentioned, to create a healthier food system. And one of the issues that our members have prioritized is food waste. Food waste is a national problem. And here are some of the statistics, facts that we have. Almost 40% of all food is wasted in the United States. This is expensive, resulting in $161 billion lost annually of uneaten food. So just let that sink in. It's a lot. This results to over $1,500 lost for a family of 4. And lastly, it's environmentally harmful. So not only are we wasting food, but we're also harming our landfills, and it releases methane, which is an even more harmful greenhouse gas emission than carbon. So that's just to give you an overview of how much of an issue food waste is. And now, as for food insecurity, at the same time, we know that projections from Feeding America show that 15.8% of county residents were food insecure in 2020. And in 2021, it was 10.5%. Many of these residents rely on food assistance providers and food pantries to receive food. And this is just our county map that shows the need.
Thank you, Yasmin. So as we saw from the previous stats on food waste, as we can see from that map on food insecurity in the region, that's a map pulled from Capillary Food Bank's 2021 Hunger Report, which I highly recommend for those folks who haven't had a chance to take a look at that, and it's linked in the slides. So, you know, with these things at hand, we know that food waste is a problem. We know that there are folks in the county that are experiencing food insecurity and hunger. So, you know, that led us to kind of brainstorm ideas and think about how we could address some of these issues. So throughout the past couple of years, the Food Equity Council has really stepped up to help coordinate some of the food assistance response in the county. As food insecurity was skyrocketing during the pandemic, we've helped connect with food assistance providers and food pantries to really help them address some of the needs that they were seeing on the ground. So through this work, we really saw the need to launch some kind of coordinated food recovery network, similar to how other jurisdictions have these networks. There's one in DC, there's one across the region. These were really able to help coordinate some of the larger donations of food made, especially during the challenging times during the pandemic. So it's really an opportunity to connect surplus food with local food assistance providers that were really supporting and serving this critical need. So in January 2021, the Food Equity Council joined Food Rescue US, which is a national network and food rescue platform. It is a nonprofit organization and one of the leaders really in the food rescue space. So by partnering with them, we have use of their software to help connect with food donors, volunteers, and receiving organizations, and we'll cover that in just a few minutes. So since launching in 2011, Food Rescue US has expanded to 35 locations in 19 states and Washington, DC. So we're really excited to be part of their network. Okay, so what is food rescue? So this slide shows kind of the 3 pillars of food rescue. Like I mentioned, food rescue is all about engaging new donors. So donors are restaurants or grocery stores or even local farms that have food that is then picked up by by volunteers that deliver that food directly to food pantries and food assistance providers in the county. So in the next couple of slides, we're going to really look at each of these individually to give you a sense of what it means to be a donor, to be a volunteer, or to be a receiver. So to get it started, I'm going to pass it off back to Yasmin to talk about food donors.
Right, so who can donate? Any business that has excess food that could be going to waste, and this includes grocery stores, restaurants, hospitals, farms, hotels, etc. As long as it is a registered business, they can sign up. And as mentioned, it has to be registered as a business. We cannot take food from individuals. And so why donate? There are many reasons that are beneficial for donating, right? You save money with donating tax deductions, advance your sustainability goals by reducing food waste in landfills, and most importantly, help feed the community while protected from liability with the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Act. Now I'll hand it back off to Julia.
Great, thank you. So now we're going to talk briefly about receivers. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the pandemic, the Food Equity Council really stepped up to help work with food pantries and food assistance providers in the county. So we're really tapped into this network of nonprofit agencies that are serving folks that are experiencing food insecurity. So these are the receivers that we are connecting with to receive donations. So this map shows all of the receivers that we're connected with throughout the county. So these are folks that serve clients in need. So their food pantries, their senior centers, their family resource centers, veteran facilities, soup kitchens. So they're really kind of serving their communities and doing this important work. And if anyone's interested in taking a look at this map further, we have this available on our website. So I've added the link right here. So what are the benefits of being a receiver? So, by participating as a food rescue partner, our receivers can really increase the amount of food that they're receiving at their social service agency. So this can help maximize food pantries' budgets if they don't have to purchase additional food. Most of them are purchasing additional food, but they can kind of reduce that amount by receiving additional donations through our food rescue partners. And they can receive food directly to their food assistance provider sites. No pickup required. Our volunteers are the ones that are able to do that direct delivery. So it really makes it super, super easy for them to receive that food. And I believe we have one of our receivers on the line. Anna, are you with us? And are you able to talk a little bit about the work that you do at your receiving agency and how Food Rescue has supported you?
Yeah, thank you, Julia. We have been enjoying receiving food through Prince George's Food Equity Council and through other partnership that we have, like Celestial Manna Partnership. So we are both doing food rescue and recipient of food donation at the same time. It truly is a blessing for us because it allows us to maximize our budget in terms of buying some other necessities like supplies for our food distribution. We currently serve the local community in Riverdale and New Carlton and nearby other areas who comes to our pantry, and it's roughly from 100 to 250 families every month. So if you could imagine, if we don't have those rescue missions and donations from Prince George's County Food Equity, it will be very, very expensive for us to sustain the amount of families who comes to our pantry. So even the TFAP, which is a big distribution on our side, we able to know about the program through being part of this coalition. So I am extremely grateful for Julie and Sydney and the rest of the coalition for being able to help us with our mission to to strengthen the food security in our area, especially in Prince George's. So yeah, I hope we see more of this because it helps us to really be sustainable.
Thank you so much, Anna, for sharing that. I really appreciate you being here. And I'll just note that she is on vacation right now. So this is one dedicated food assistance provider, and she really wanted to share her experience. So I appreciate you being here and taking time out of your vacation. And I hope you'll jump off now to get back to your rest of your time off. So thank you so much. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about food rescue volunteers, which we know is kind of the main reason that you are all here today. So I'm going to pass it back to Yasmin to share this section.
All right, thank you, Julia, and thank you so much, Anna. So as mentioned, we'll be talking about volunteers now. So who can volunteer? Basically, anyone who wants to sign up, and we'll get into more specifics in our next slides. So why volunteer? There are a number of benefits to volunteering, and it's a very rewarding experience. So these include you can connect with local businesses and food assistance organizations in your neighborhood. You can help reduce hunger and support the environment, and join a network of volunteers. In fact, we are joined by one of our volunteers today, so you can hear directly from someone that's been doing the work. So Terry has helped with a few rescues and is going to share briefly about her experience. Terry, are you with us? I could hand it off to you now.
Yes, I am here.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Terry Statham. I'm a volunteer that lives in the Camp Springs area in the southern part of Prince George's County. And have only a few rescues under my belt so far, but they have all been really good experiences. You know, first you might be initially a little concerned about making the connections with the donors and the receivers. That has been absolutely no problem. The directions are very detailed, very clear, and I was easily able to connect with everyone. And my most rewarding experience, I think, was going to Claggett Farm in Upper Marlboro. I was really eager to see that because it does community supported agriculture, which is a wonderful thing to have in this area. And I was able to talk to the volunteers there, see their beautiful farm. And I delivered their fresh produce to the Oxon Hill Food Pantry, which is in Our Savior's Lutheran Church in Oxon Hill. And I was really glad to do that because I have been a regular volunteer at the Oxon Hill Food Pantry prior to COVID, and was always gratified to see how thrilled people were to receive fresh produce. I mean, the canned food is great, and Pantry does a great job of distributing a variety of canned food, but people were always delighted to get the vegetables and the fruits. So it was really good to see both ends of the equation, from the donor side and the receiver side. So that has been, I think, my favorite experience in volunteering, and I hope to do more in the spring.
Thank you so much, Terry. We're really lucky to have you, and we appreciate you sharing your experience.
Great, thank you so much. And we hope that y'all volunteer more with us, especially as Claggett Farm gets back up and running in the spring season. So, okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about how to get started as a volunteer. So there are two types of volunteers. We've talked a little bit about food rescuers. So that's this first bucket of volunteers, the volunteer rescuers that are really the ones behind the whole operation that pick up food from donor sites and drop off the food to receiving organizations. So that is one bucket. The other bucket are volunteer champions. So this is kind of a new bucket that we've created, but these volunteer champions will act as program ambassadors to really help recruit new donors and new volunteers. So all of these are equally important, but we know that as we get started and we're trying to grow our program, we are a small team. So we're really hoping to rely on the support and dedication of volunteers like you all to support both the pickups and deliveries, as well as this recruitment. So in the next few sections, we're going to talk a bit about both the opportunities to participate as a volunteer rescuer, as well as opportunities to volunteer as a volunteer champion. Okay, so this first section will be about volunteer rescuers. So I know in that initial poll that we launched, I know a few folks said that they weren't signed up yet. So in this slide, we have some information on how to get signed up as a Prince George's County Food Rescue volunteer. So first of all, we have a Google form that we've put together to help kind of assess who's in our network. We are very lucky to be a part of this big Food Rescue US network, but that means that our volunteers are kind of all pooled throughout the region. So by having our individual sign-up form for Prince George's County, we're able to really keep tabs on who you are, what kinds of things you're interested in doing, and how you're interested in participating with us, so we can directly get in touch with you about volunteer opportunities. So first of all, to sign up, you're going to complete this form. We can try to drop a link in the chat when we get a chance. Thank you so much, Sydney. But please fill that out. It's a really brief form. Give us your information and your contact information. If you're signing up as a volunteer, that will directly take you to step number 2, which is to sign up with the Food Rescue US app. So that is the software platform that we use to coordinate all of our donations. So as a volunteer, you'll need to sign up and create a profile on that platform. So there'll be a couple steps to that, but you're gonna sign up as a new user. You'll need to verify your phone number and email address, and then you'll receive the information to create a profile. If you have any issues with signing up there, sometimes the software can be a bit finicky. Please feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to help you. But please note that you must have a Food Rescue US profile to get started. Okay, so once you've signed up, again, via our Google form, and that will channel you to the Food Rescue US software, and you have your profile set up, you can start completing rescues. So that means that you are going to want to claim a rescue. So this is an image of what that's going to look like once you've created a profile. You're going to navigate to the schedule tab at the top, kind of right or center corner, and you'll be able to see what rescues are available. So you'll be able to see where it's located, the date, the time for the rescue. You can take a look at those. If there's one in your area, if there's one that speaks to you, then you can click I'll do it, which is located on the very right-hand side of the screen. By saying that you'll do it, it means you're going to just pick up that one rescue on that one particular day. You'll complete that rescue and that will be that. The other option is to adopt a rescue. This means that you are signing up to complete all rescues for that particular donor. So all of these recurring donations. So sometimes they'll just be an individual donation on one random day. And then oftentimes, more likely, a donation will be a recurring donation. So there'll be a weekly pickup from a restaurant, or there'll be a bi-weekly or a monthly pickup. So if you want to adopt that rescue, you're saying that you're kind of the person in charge for all future rescues. You are not required to do every single one. If there's a particular day where you have an appointment, you're busy, something happens, that is totally fine. Just reach out to me and you can let me know that you're not able to do it, and then I'll find another volunteer to help that particular day. So it's a great way to make it really easy for us if we know that for the most part, those pickups are kind of coordinated by an individual volunteer. So I really encourage you all to try to adopt a rescue if there's one that works for your schedule. Okay, so now that you've claimed a rescue or adopted a rescue, you'll be able to see the schedule for that rescue under My Rescues. This will have all the information that you need to complete that rescue. So there'll be the information on the location, the details on where to go. As Terry mentioned, that's all kind of listed in the software. So you'll be able to see kind of ins and outs of what you need to do to complete that rescue. You will then go to that donor site on the select date and time. You'll pick up the donation, you'll follow the instructions, and then you'll bring that to the receiving site that is listed there. And that's it. We really try to make this as easy as possible. Typically, these are pretty short rescues, so we try to make it possible within like a 30-minute window. Sometimes it will take longer, sometimes it will take shorter, but that will be listed under the rescue. So depending on how much time you have available that day, you can kind of select accordingly. Again, we try to make it a short distance. We are dealing with a pretty large county, so occasionally there will be larger and longer distances to complete these rescues. But again, it's up to you on whether you want to complete that and want to claim that rescue. Okay, so now that you've completed your rescue, you're going to close out the rescue. So a huge part of the reason that we use this software is to help keep tabs on how much we are receiving, how much we're picking up, how much our donors are donating. This is a real draw for them, right? If they can know that we're keeping tabs on the amount that they're donating, it helps them for tax purposes to keep track of their donations. It's a great marketing tool. So this is a huge part of the software. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to My Rescues tab and locate the rescue that you completed. There'll be two options. So you can click, yes, I did it, or I couldn't make it. But if you did make it, then you'll kind of click through that, and then you'll see a screen where you can indicate what you picked up. So you can indicate the amount that you picked up. You can indicate the poundage or the specific items. Sometimes you're going to have to kind of guess a little bit on the total amount. We try to make this as accurate as possible to get a good sense of what the donation was and how much you picked up. Then you'll complete all the prompts. There are opportunities to add in a comment, or you can add in a photo. We love to receive photos of the donation, of you with the donation. So please add your photos. And then you'll close the rescue. So make sure you hit that close button at the very bottom of the screen. We've had some issues with that in the past, but make sure that that is closed out, and then we'll be able to see that on our end, and that will be added to kind of our total calculation of the amount that our team has been rescuing through the platform. Okay, so that's kind of an overview of what the platform does and how you would engage it as a volunteer. These are just some questions that we've heard from some of our volunteers that we wanted to address. So the first question is, do I need to be tech savvy to use this technology? No, our technology is designed to be user friendly. We have a comprehensive tutorial that I send to all registered volunteers. So once you sign up, I'll send you all of this information. There are videos that are really helpful on how to do all these things. So you do not need to be tech savvy. If you have any issues, I'm available to support. And there's also a great tech team that works on the Food Rescue US software, and they're always willing and happy to help. So like I mentioned, the distance for food rescues, we try to keep this within 30 minutes. Sometimes it'll be longer, sometimes it'll be shorter. Because we have a big county, occasionally there'll be pretty long rescues, but it's up to you whether you want to complete that or not. If you only have 20 minutes, there'll be rescues for you that only take 20 minutes. So you can really kind of cater to your needs. And then the other question is, are there requirements to sign up as a volunteer? Pretty much the only requirement really is that you have some means of transportation. So you're able to do that pickup, probably in a car. If you're really inclined, maybe on a bike or a cargo bike. But I can imagine, because it's a big county, you'll most likely be transporting this via a car. And then the other question is, will I receive a volunteer training? So we're actively working on putting together some resources for our volunteers. There's one opportunity that we did want to share with everyone. We will be hosting a food safety training for food assistance providers. Like I mentioned earlier, we do a lot of work kind of coordinating, providing resources for food assistance providers, but we do think that this will be highly relevant to any volunteers that are interested in participating. So if you're interested in joining us for that, this will be a call on food safety and safe food handling on April 7th at 1 p.m. And Sydney has just dropped the registration link in the chat. So please take a look at that if you're interested in joining us. Okay, so that's that on the volunteer rescuer opportunities. So we're going to start talking a little bit about the volunteer champions. which is the second bucket of how to participate as a volunteer. So Yasmin, I'm going to pass it off to you for this section.
Yeah, thank you, Julia. So now, volunteer champions, these are volunteers that are looking to play a more engaged role and act as ambassadors to help recruit new businesses and volunteers. And in addition to that, they'd be participating in quarterly volunteer champion meetings and when possible, complete food rescues by picking up and dropping off food donations. So it's a little bit more of an engaged position, and we'll talk a little more about it in the next slides. So as a volunteer champion, you will be helping recruit food donors and volunteers. Donors will be recruited by using our volunteer champion guide that will be shared with all volunteers after this call. This guide has information on donor and volunteer call scripts and email templates to help recruit. You will then track businesses you've contacted via a shared spreadsheet where volunteers keep track of who they've contacted and who signed up. And now we're going to do something a little more interactive. So think of food businesses like a restaurant, a grocery store, farm, etc. A business that you frequent often. You know someone that works there or pass by but haven't yet stepped in and have wanted to check it out. Do you think they might be interested in signing up as a donor? Well, you could use the chat to share what those businesses are to help us engage new food donors in our network. So just drop in the chat the name of a business that you really like, might be interested in, or are really involved with. And this is also going to help us add more businesses to our list. Yeah, you could just use the chat for that. Mom's College Park, okay. Thanks, Joe.
You can also take yourself off mute if that's helpful.
250 barbecue. These are new places for me as well, so. Anywhere else? Right, well, if you think, oh, yes, going once, going twice. If you think of anything later on, feel free to drop it in the chat. And now think of any volunteer groups. Maybe those are church groups, youth groups, even corporate businesses. Do you think they would be interested in volunteering? Again, you could use the chat to share names of any volunteer groups to help us expand our volunteer reach. And, you know, if you're in school, this could even be like an organization on campus that you know. Again, faith-based organizations a lot of the times are really involved. Other civic engagement, social justice kind of organizations, just any group that you think might be interested. I think we saw a few drops in the chat. Yeah, definitely civic associations also be a good one. And we have our own database, like our own list, but again, we always like hearing new thoughts. Chelum Ray Civic Association. Thank you, Renee. Yeah, well, going once, going twice. If not, we could move on to our next slide. Just tell you a little bit more about how you can get started. So first, to get started as a volunteer champion, you'd have to complete our sign-up form. We could drop that in the chat. Second, Julia, who you all know here, the Prince George's County Food Rescue Site Director, will reach out to you to help you get started. So first step, you complete the form. Second step, Julia will contact you. Third, you will then begin recruiting new donors and volunteer groups. And this can be done on your own schedule and take as much or as little time as you have. So it's really flexible. You know, you only have 1 hour a week, no problem. You want to engage more, that's great too. Even that 1 hour can really help make an impact. But of course, if you have more time, we're happy to accept it. And fourth, we will be hosting a quarterly meeting for all volunteer champions. This will be an opportunity to meet other volunteers, network, and help us continue to improve and refine our program. And information about that will be shared with all volunteer champions that have signed up. So now I will hand it back off to Julia.
Great, thank you so much, Yasmin. And just to clarify, because I know we have a lot of sign-up forms and way to engage, I just want to give you a sense of what all the forms are. So Sydney dropped a link in the chat. So that one is for our general food rescue sign-up form. So that's where we channel anyone, whether they are a volunteer or a donor or a receiving organization that wants to get involved with our network. So if you haven't created a profile on the Food Rescue US software yet, if you are very new to this, please sign up there. And that's how you can get started as a volunteer rescuer to start picking up and dropping off donations. If you're interested in getting further involved and engaged, and if you've already started doing that, you're looking to participate in a different way and you want to join our volunteer champion network, please do. So that's the link that I just dropped in the chat, the second one. So you can complete that sign up form and then you'll receive an email from me. I'll be in touch with you and we can get started on kind of convening this smaller, kind of more intimate group of volunteer champions that will be a part of this kind of outreach team to engage new donors. So please fill out either one of those forms if you're interested in getting involved in any of these activities. Okay, so in the next slide, we have another poll to get a sense of kind of the volunteer connections and resources that you are interested in receiving. So Sydney, if you're able to pull up the next poll, there we go. Everyone can please take a moment to fill out these questions.
Okay, looks like we have some responses coming in, Julia. I want to encourage everyone to go ahead and fill out that poll. We'll leave it up for a few more seconds so everyone has a chance.
So again, there are 3 questions here, so we'll give you another 30 seconds to fill this out. Okay, looks like we have a pretty good mix. So the first question, let's see, how do you like to volunteer with food rescue? So pretty evenly split between volunteer rescuers and volunteer champions. So again, anyone who filled out the volunteer rescuer, if you're not already signed up, please do via that general interest form. And then if you're interested in getting involved as a volunteer champion, please complete the champion interest form that I dropped in the chat just a few minutes ago. Okay, and then the other question is, what types of volunteer training opportunities would you like to receive? It looks like most of these are pretty much evenly split. So food safety, best practices, lots of interest, how to pack rescues, deliveries, how to work with donors, how to use the technology a little bit less so. So that's a good sign that folks feel like, you know, you have a good sense of how to use the technology. Like I said, it's pretty simple. It's not rocket science, but if anyone has any issues, I'm always happy to support them on that. Okay, and then the last question, what types of volunteer activities would you like to participate in? Looks like folks are not so interested in a volunteer or in-person mixer, but training opportunities might be of interest. fewer folks are interested in a group rescue. I kind of understand that there are so many opportunities to participate as an individual. So maybe it's easier for you to do that on your own time and do those pickups and deliveries. Some interest in a volunteer virtual training or resource sharing. So we can definitely do more of those. And potentially a little bit of interest in a virtual volunteer mixer. So these are just some ideas of things that we'll be working on in the coming months as we continue to kind of develop our food rescue program. Okay, so that's it for us. We're going to have some time now for questions, but we just wanted to thank you all for being here, for joining us today and taking time out of your busy lives to spend this hour with us to learn a little bit more about how to engage as a volunteer. So like I mentioned, we have this volunteer resource guide that we've put together that we can share in the chat, and we can also email that to you all along with a recording of this call and for any folks that were interested but weren't able to make it today. So please check that out. We really hope that you all will find new ways to engage as volunteers, whether that's a volunteer rescuer or a volunteer champion. And if you have any further questions or want to chat more about opportunities, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is julia@pgcfec.org. I'm always happy to hear from you. So in our last 15 minutes together, we can open it up for questions. So if you have any questions, please drop those in the chat or just take yourself off mute. We're a small group today, so we can take some time to answer anything about food rescue or opportunities to engage.
I just wonder, have you had any approaches to donors that have worked better than others? Food donors?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're definitely still getting started with our outreach, but what I've experienced personally is often a phone call or an in-person visit can make a big difference, and that's what I've also heard from other partners in our network. So that's why, we're really excited to try to engage you all. It's a big county, we're a small team, and going individually to these different donors can be pretty time consuming. So it's really helpful if you know of a local restaurant, that's around the corner from you that you would love to get involved in our food rescue program, stop by. We're happy to share our fact sheet or any, other materials, and we've provided all of those resources in our volunteer guide. So we're trying to make you kind of as equipped as possible to do those kind of in-person visits or make those phone calls or send those emails to kind of do this outreach.
Thank you.
Hi, I don't know if you can hear me. I'm having a little trouble with my computer here in my
No
Zoom.
worries. We can
Oh,
hear you.
great. Okay, thank you. I think you might have just answered my question a moment ago. We have a lot of small restaurants where I live, not so much the chains, but a lot of individual restaurants. And you have a fact sheet or literature that a person could give them so that they could consider becoming a donor?
Yep, we have all of this
Great.
information and it's linked in the volunteer guide, and we can send all of this information to you guys after this call via an email. And I'll just note that all of our fact sheets actually are in English and Spanish, because we know, especially for some of the smaller restaurants in the county, that having a resource in Spanish, might help them engage. So just note that we have those available, and we're happy to share those with anyone that's interested in doing that outreach.
I'm sorry, I have one other question.
Yeah, go for it.
At the very beginning, when you were mentioning donors, I was trying to read the list, but I can't remember. Are schools part of the list, like public schools or private schools?
Yeah, they can be. We're not currently working with schools, but we would love to get them involved. So, that's something that we'll try to work on in the coming months, but that's definitely a possibility.
Okay.
And then Joe, I see your question in the chat. Is there a donor minimum quantity required? There really isn't. It's as much or as little as a donor wants to donate. Anna, who shared earlier, they receive weekly donations from Mixed Food Hall. Sometimes the folks at Mixed have, multiple boxes or bags. Sometimes, on some weeks, it's a pretty small quantity. It will be a few, jars of a product or, a few baked goods. So it's kind of really as much or as little as that donor wants to donate on a particular day or rescue.
And I'll just say that, Joe, that's kind of where Julia comes in. She's really great at matchmaking a donation to make sure whoever's receiving that kind of on our food provider end is getting kind of the quantity of food that they want. So not too much and not too little. So we take that mental load, if you will, or burden off of donors, and Julia takes care of that for our program.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, again, we really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today and listening to our presentation and chatting about food rescue. We're so excited about this program, and we really want to increase the number of participants. So we're always looking for new donors and volunteers. So we hope that you'll participate with us and help spread the word. Feel free to reach out to me or anyone on our team if you have any questions. And we'll be in touch in the future if we have more training opportunities or resource sharing for our volunteers. So keep an eye out for an email from me, and we'll be sure to follow up with the materials that I mentioned, like this food rescue volunteer guide, as well as some of the fact sheets and some of the slides from today. So thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you have a great rest of your afternoon. Okay. Let me pause the recording.
I tried